You asked me about choice architecture. I think it's a very interesting development. I think it's an important development. And actually what it is, it's a way to achieve small effects with zero costs, or very, very small costs. It doesn't solve big problems. It solves small problems very cheaply. And as such, it's been very useful because, it's highly economical, but the solutions to the big problems are not going to come from there. They're going to come from politics. I mean, they're going to come from elsewhere. You ask if, people at Davos have been influenced by psychology, by behavioral science. Well, to some extent, yes, but it's actually not a very important contribution. I mean, the problems are more economic and they're more social, and the psychology of the individual is not extremely relevant to it. So I think the contribution is small. I think there is a contribution that could be made and that hasn't been made. There is a science of decision making, and my sense is that institutions, organizations, governments have a lot to learn about how to make decisions. And institutions are more likely to benefit than individuals from psychology and from the science of decision making. So there is a whole field that doesn't exist yet, and I hope it will exist. Well, over the last few years, I have been studying what I call noise, which is simply random error. And what has been interesting to me about this topic was that when I was young, you would ask people about error, and they would think about random error, or they would think about motivated error. And now, when you ask people, at least in the United States, I don't know here, but in the United States, if you mention error, people immediately think of bias. And to some extent, my work has something to do with the fact that bias is so common. But actually, bias is not the most important kind of error. The most important kind of error is noise. It is just unreliability. It is just that people disagreeing randomly. And there is a lot of that within organizations where people who should be doing the same thing are actually doing very different things, and nobody knows it for very interesting psychological reasons. So that is what is my passion these days.